we agree with everyone, and we think mobile is going to be the next big thing. And started kind of tinkering various things we could do, and yeah, then PhoneGap's kind of taken off, and now probably 60% of our business is mobile. 2 years ago, when there was no percentage of our business that was mobile, so it's really kind of changed the type of projects we work on. Yeah, so it's awesome. It's kind of achieved its goal, and definitely it pays off any investment we put into PhoneGap. It just gets out there, more people use it, and yeah, it benefits the business for sure. We also do direct services on top of PhoneGap, so we'll do training. We have some more online training courses coming up in August. We do custom training for IT departments, and then we'll do ongoing support where we'll kind of mentor and help troubleshoot problems, write a bit of code. So really trying to help organizations get up to speed on PhoneGap so that they can use it themselves. You know, and a lot of our actual engagements end up being that we will build like the first version of an app, or we'll get it up and running on iPhone, and then say, hey, now you guys have the tools and technology and an initial code base to go out and port it to these different platforms. So you guys do that, we'll keep working on the framework, and hopefully
oh, we may have lost him. We'll see if we can get them back here. Hold on 1 second.
Your app will run everything.
I think it's kind of froze a little bit there.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
We can still see it.
Yeah, well, you kind of you stopped and then went to fast forward, so it's okay. We got the content, so
right, good.
It did freeze, and then all I saw was this.
I was trying to get out.
There's a you know, I read somewhere where there's another framework that integrates PhoneGap into that framework. Is that, did I read that properly? Like something like I interviewed these guys at Moby as well who talk about leveraging the PhoneGap platform. Is that news to you guys?
No, I think I've heard of those guys. There's a lot of people who are using PhoneGap now.
Yeah,
that's kind of their platform. People are building tool around
on
it.
top of it. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think. Well, there's a few different ones. I can't remember them all, but that will use PhoneGap as part of their tooling approach, which is great to see. We'd love it if those guys contributed more back to the project. We haven't actually had a huge. We've had a lot of patches, some decent contributions, actually some really good ones on BlackBerry, but overall there hasn't been other parties who are contributing in a large way. We should have some news soon that that's about to change, and we're going to have some really large companies devoting a lot of developers to PhoneGap.
That's great.
Plus, because when we have 17 people and they have
lots more.
Yeah, there's thousands. You can imagine they can really accelerate.
Now, it's an interesting point, and you can answer this or not, but it's because this seems to me like mobile right now seems to be like a gold rush going on, right? Because people are charging pretty high prices for app development. Is that, do you think, part of the reason why that nobody's really contributing to it there? So they're leveraging your platform and they're like, well, I'm going to use this to make money off of it before it becomes democratized and almost free to build a mobile application. Do you think that plays into it?
Yeah, maybe to a certain extent. I think some of the companies were building tools on top of PhoneGap. I mean, even early days, some people just took the PhoneGap code, renamed it, and tried to sell it.
That's perfect.
It didn't really last very long, right? It's with the internet, access to information is so quick and free that you can find out where the source is.
Yeah.
And kind of people can only be tricked for so long, really.
Yep. Well, and when you so how are you guys promoting this? Is it just through? Is it viral that this blew out, or?
Yeah, more or less. I mean, we promote it online on phonegap.com, on our website, natobi.com. We have a Twitter account, PhoneGap. We talk at a lot of conferences too.
Yeah, do a lot of talks, presentations. We recently did a presentation at OzCon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Most recently, before then, would have been like JSConf.
Yeah. Tons.
Yeah.
So you're focusing on really on web technology conferences and targeting those guys, obviously, right?
Yeah. We'd like to move into speaking at more of the old school or traditional mobile conferences like GSMA, those sort of things. But that's kind of,
CIA, yeah.
yeah, so it's kind of just kind of a newer world for us. So
What about even DevCon, the RIM conference? Is that something that you guys look into, or?
I think
We've looked into it,
yeah,
but
we've asked them before, and they didn't like us. We actually kind of get weird responses from some
Really?
manufacturers. Yeah, they're not as keen on the platform. Just the whole cross-platform thing, I think.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks they can win by keeping everything locked down on their platform and having the best apps on their platform, which, I don't know.
has obviously failed for some
Yeah.
manufacturers. So
Yeah. If they just kind of got on board with PhoneGap and really helped us get it working on their platform, great. Everyone who built an iPhone app or an Android app with it, their app would immediately end up on, let's say, RIM or
Nokia. And I think that that's one of the key things, obviously.
some other. And Nokia have actually been really supportive of it. And interestingly, it's because those are two companies that have a very or a good web-based approach, right? Palm with WebOS and Nokia with their WRT, which they're improving a lot for future versions. So they're on board with PhoneGap for sure.
and now Symbian.
Yeah, Symbian. Yeah.
Symbian as well. And I think that's the key, is that you almost want to embrace the underdogs in this, at least in North America, because Symbian doesn't have a big footprint in here, and WebOS is by far the biggest underdog that I think anybody's looking at, and even Windows 7. Is that something that you'll embrace as well?
Yeah, we're just waiting
For sure.
for our Windows 7 phone. And
It's on the way.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we want to be on all the platforms, right? And down the road, not even just phones, other types of devices,
Yeah.
Where we can abstract that API and kind of view layer for people.
Yeah. Basically anything with a web browser.
Yep.
Let's get PhoneGap on there.
So what's been the most impressive app that you guys have seen that has been developed with PhoneGap?
Andre?
I think one of the coolest ones is an app that's most targeted for the iPad because of the form factor. It's called Harmonious, which is a drawing and sketching application, which was built with PhoneGap, and they used a UI library called JQ Touch.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like you can draw, sketch with these different types of pens and stuff just with your finger. So they're using Canvas from HTML5 there.
So I thought that actually was, as I'm looking through it here, that was a featured app for a long time, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
On the iPad, yeah. Yeah, so does that, I mean, that must fill you with joy. I don't know how to describe it any other way.
Yeah.
Joy.
It's an accomplishment for sure.
To see that kind of, not only to have people embrace the platform, but then to see somebody like that or a company like that put out a product that is recognized as, up with the native apps that are up there as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And,
Well, I think a lot of apps you can't even really tell.
Yeah.
Like the better design and built
Yeah,
apps.
yeah. As long as they put the effort into, designing it properly and leveraging the HTML and CSS properly, then you can't tell at all.
Yeah.
Especially, for example, on the iPhone and iPad, with it being hardware accelerated,
Yeah.
you can't tell at all.
Yeah.
See, it just it's intriguing because when you look back and you see what the impact of this is going to be is, what took 10 years in the web world is going to take 2 years in mobile. So the accelerant, like people are making a lot of money building apps right now and maintaining apps across all these platforms. 2 years from now, we'll be looking around saying, well, what happened? I mean, I used to charge $40,000 for this, and now it's like, what, free?
Yeah.
So this is that beginning, and a lot of companies have cropped up with different business models. So yours is obviously open source. There's a couple that are software service models or rental models, but either way, it's brought the price down dramatically from free to a few dollars a month. And but where do you guys go from here? You continue to run PhoneGap until there's no longer a need, and then find something else, or do you hope that there's no longer a need for PhoneGap in the future?
Yeah, we hope so. I hope all the browsers get their act together and play nicely, and we get all those cool features right there. Until then, we'll continue working on the framework and adding deeper support for all the APIs on all the different phones. Improving documentation, improving performance. And we'll be building a lot of apps also. So we want to share the knowledge around the best practices for high performance JavaScript, good user experience across different devices, and really getting into what the possibilities are with HTML5. Yeah, especially from the kind of cool rendering and graphical things we'll be able to do with that with web technologies, and breaking those stereotypes of what you can do with web technology. I mean, I still remember it was like just 5 years ago before Google Maps and Gmail came out, and people thought you couldn't build rich user experiences in web browsers without a plugin, and then Gmail came out and Google Maps came out, and everyone's like, "Oh, Ajax, this is cool." Yeah, and that spawned all these frameworks and excitement.
Web 2.0, and all of a sudden everybody's got sparse design with Ajax everywhere, right?
Yeah, buzzword bingo. So
buzzword bingo. So what's it going to be in a couple of years? Well, I'm very intrigued by that, because I do believe that there's a misconception out there about why you'd want to build an application, and what your need versus a want, and I think that whatever the code that you've already built and whatever you've invested in a web app, and connecting that web app to your infrastructure, you should. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to leverage that in a mobile environment and do it on the cheap, because that's what's really gonna blow. Like, I believe that mobile is obviously going to be far greater than the PC revolution and the internet revolution combined, because that's what you're doing. You add that layer of social on top, and the adoption of this is really keen on making sure that people are educated enough so that they don't have to participate with their own app. They can leverage other people's, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
just the amount of innovation that's already gone into web technologies and libraries and web services, it seems crazy to go back the other way. Like, building native apps is almost like a step backwards for most applications. I think a bit of it is fueled too by software developers who learn this new language and then they're really keen to use it, and then just, I don't know, you see a lot of times in IT departments where software developers are like, well, we have to use Objective-C, and the poor product manager, I don't know, whoever's signing the checks doesn't really have the knowledge to debate that, so they're like, okay, guess we're going to use that. So, or it's stuff like performance. They'll be like, look at this super crappy HTML app, and it's like the worst example they can find. Versus this amazing native app, and they find like the best example they can find. It's like,
on the best hardware, yeah. Yeah,
you're not really doing a fair comparison, but it proves a point, I guess, for that argument, and away you go.
And then you carry on. Well, so when people are looking for that, so they're trying to figure out what application they have an idea for an application. They've decided that it needs to be an application. What are the things that they should be looking at? Why should they use PhoneGap for this, and as opposed to anything else? When people are looking for this, give them some advice about picking a platform.
Well, I would say that you have to look at what you currently have. Like, if you already have a mobile presence or a web presence, then PhoneGap is a big advantage for you, because you can reuse all that. If you're making high performance games, action games, that kind of stuff, at this point, the web technologies aren't caught up to what you can do natively. So stay away from that, at least right now. Once WebGL comes in, maybe that will change. But currently, we can't really do anything for that. But also, and you kind of touched on this earlier, is do you need a native app, right? Or can it just be a website?
Yeah.
Right? So, we ask questions like, which platforms do you want to hit? Like, if they already have